Hi, folks. Welcome to Plug-in Business Profiles, and happy Independence Day. At least that's when this is coming out, but I'm sure it'll be shown soon after that. I'm John Nelson, the Plug-in CEO of JKL Works and pluginbusiness.com. And I was going to actually show a preview of that site. It's just about ready to go. So we're ready to rock that out there. And you'll see a lot of these things that we profile. You will see right there on that site, and hopefully get some good deals to try them out if that's what you want to do. And it will be filled with stuff like this, these different reviews and previews of different pieces of software that we're working through here. So we hope you find this helpful. And today we're talking about customer relationship management software. And we will get into those. Most of those are names you know. This is not a mysterious topic, okay? But one of the things I did want to go through is some aspects, some things to know, if you will, about it. So that's what we're going to be covering. So let's get right into this thing if we can, and talk about what we're dealing with here. So some things to know on CRM software, and this is through my own observations. It's through other people, conversations with other people about them. It's from using multiple CRMs. I've used I've used 3 of them on this list, plus another one that's not on the list because it was a little too basic and customizable. I don't think it's quite there yet. It's called Free Agent. But there have been some others as well, even back in the day when we all had ACT, way back when. ACT is still hanging around. It's still in goldmine. They're still kind of here, but for years and years and years, 20, 30 years ago, they were the absolute staple of doing this sort of thing. So all right. So let's keep this in mind on this. There is a whole lot of customer data that a CRM can track. Okay, a whole lot of it. And while that seems obvious, keep in mind that you're going to have to fill that at some point. I mean, it's more than just don't use it for, somebody's email address and phone number. You can use Outlook for that, or Gmail, or whatever you have going on for those particular. You could use your phone for that. So you generally go into this with the idea that you're going to track and be able to track a lot of data. Other thing is you're going to want to have something to do with that data. Data. You're going to want to have something to do with that afterwards. So what can you do with it? Well, maybe you can put that into a workflow, some sort of automation that reaches out with emails or SMS messages or direct messages or all kinds of different things, or tracks the progress of a sale through a sales pipeline. You're going to want to have something to do with that data. Okay. You really will. And the more you have to do with it, the better it is. Now, this is like websites. This thing is only as good as it's fed. If you just don't take any time at all and you put very little effort into not only putting in the contacts, that's not it, because you can do that in a spreadsheet, in a CSV file, and import it in. But it's what happens afterwards. It's how do you keep up with the contacts and the outreaches and the customer statuses and how they change, and different notes about your different ones. One of my clients had very, very extensive notes in their CRM system. It actually kind of made their migration a little difficult that we were doing for them. But they knew that ahead of time because they kept all their notes on the clients on every session in here, and they needed to. It's okay. They needed to. They were using it well. And so it is, that's something that you're going to have to think about before you decide to jump into a CRM system, because you'll see it in a minute. There are a lot of good contenders, but this is something like a lot of things you kind of have to be ready for. Okay. So it's only as good as it's fed. So get somebody to help. Get somebody to help with the whole thing. Get a guide through the spirit world to come to help you, not only help you set up the CRM, but periodically come in and help you make sure it's maintained properly. Make sure everything is working well. Make sure that that things are going great, that you don't have any hiccups or you don't have any user issues where somebody puts stuff in the wrong places and they keep doing it forever, and then nobody catches it, and so then you end up with a whole data entry mess that somebody has to go straighten out. So it's good to have somebody help you set up, and then they train somebody on your staff, preferably, to keep track of it, and then get that person who is trained on the staff to keep track of this thing and make sure, as sort of the CRM police, that everything is entered properly and functioning properly, but also get that person some help, or a team, behind them to make sure that everything is going well, so they're not just completely overwhelmed. Get them a resource to go ask, if there's something that they don't know, because as you'll see, some of these have some just incredible complexity behind them. So that's something you really want to avoid. And the final point here about CRMs, it is update them after the sale. So we were talking about what you do with that and what's going on. So you do a lot in the sales pipeline with a CRM. You track that customer journey. You track all the contacts. You track everything about it. Well, you know what? Be like my client, and have everything updated in there. Continue to update it afterwards. Every conversation, every change, every status update, everything. That goes with them. If you're going to do it right, in a CRM, and really take the time to do that. So I'm going to leave these on here for just a minute, because I want you to, if you're considering a CRM system, and this is an upgrade for a lot of people, then you really want to think about a lot of this stuff, and keep some of this in mind, because this is a system. This is something, if you're in the right place for your business, that can really help you track a lot of information, not the least of which is what type of value you're getting for your marketing efforts, what kind of value you're getting, versus sales return and ROI, and just all kinds of things in general there. So you want to keep that in mind. You want to make sure that all this stuff is being well looked after in a CRM. So let's talk about some of these, shall we? This is not a huge in-depth thing, but let's go into some of these and what they do. So number one here is HubSpot. It is probably the number one in a lot of things. HubSpot's been around for a long time. I checked them out in the late 2000s when they were just starting out, and they were kind of raw. But they just kept going. I mean, it was kind of an unruly system but it was one of the first ones that really truly was born online and stayed online. And so they have turned it into, and they have continued to evolve it into something special. And so two things about HubSpot. One, it's a CRM. They're doing a lot of purely from the standpoint of tracking client activities, and they continue to make that easier and add and innovate. But it is everything a CRM is supposed to be. And I mean, it strays into some automations a little bit, not as much as some of the ones that we're going to see, but it is all about strictly the CRM. Another thing that they're very interesting for, HubSpot, is their research. You've probably come across, they have a brilliant marketing thing where they have written a lot of articles and they have tagged the daylights out of them. So when people are searching for marketing statistics, they're right there. And they have tracked those, and about customer engagement and all sorts of other things. Well, you best believe they have incorporated some of that into their software, and how that has come around. So kudos to them for doing that. It's a really well done thing. Now, this can be kind of expensive once you get going. They do have a free tier, but it's pretty limited. And I think still may have an open source version, as they did at one point. But when you get into the paid stuff, it gets kind of pricey, because they're trying to justify all that. But it is a very full featured CRM, and will suit your needs if that's what you're looking for, with a lot of industry analysis and everything behind it. Okay. Second one here is second one. I'm having trouble today. Second one is Monday.com, and you ads after ads after ads after ads you've seen on Monday.com. But for them, they're about two things. They are completely online. They're a newer kid on the block, but they have risen quickly because of their ads, because of their YouTube presence, also because of their customizability and what you can do there. And then just the on the flip side of that customizability, they've made it customizable, yet they've got an ease of use thing that is very different. They really tried to work this and do it right. So, I mean, it's very graphical. It's very friendly. It's very inviting. It's not a daunting CRM thing at all. It's meant to be really an adaptive sort of thing. And so they have done really well. People I know have used this. They like it. They don't necessarily, they're not in a hurry to change. Of course, you shouldn't be in a hurry to change a CRM anyway. It's a pain. But they seem to really like it because of the flexibility in customization, and just because of the overall look and the way that it acts and the way that it feels. It doesn't give you the impression of being an unruly thing, and they've gone to great lengths to make that happen. So that's great. All right, third one, Capsule. So Capsule, I don't know a lot about. Maybe some of you all do. But it certainly came up. I think it's a seemingly kind of a more traditional CRM system where they, but it's obviously online. It's also geared, all these that we have in here, I should stop and use this opportunity to stop and say, you're not going to see Microsoft Dynamics 365. You're not going to see Google's really high-end stuff because they're not designed for small business like this in terms of an actual CRM system. They have yielded that. They are for a larger implementation, and they're much more robust because of it. So are some of the ones on this list that you'll see shortly. But they also scale down, and those two just don't outside of Outlook for Microsoft. So other than that, it's that's not really a true CRM. It's contact management, but it doesn't do. Although it's getting better, it doesn't do some of the things very natively and very easily that some of these dedicated CRM systems do. That said, Capsule seems to be kind of on the smaller side of CRMs. It's intended for smaller companies, maybe not so unruly, maybe a little more, maybe a little less robust than some of the others, but still, very, very usable, very, very well used CRM. And so it seems to be out there, and it would be a good contender for that. You're well worth it to check that out. All right, then we get to a couple that are very similar. Pipedrive is one of them, and this was the absolute cool thing right before Go High Level came out. But Pipedrive is still hanging in there. It's almost more project management than it is CRM. But it has a lot of CRM features. Particularly what it's good at is automations and workflows. That's where Pipedrive has really excelled, is that whole tracking process and making that graphical and making it cool and what it looks like. And this has long been a target of High Levels for that reason. But it's a very well done, set of software, and it has a lot of different varied uses. They've worked in some integrations, they've worked in some other things. So it's very much heading down the road of a Go High Level. And it'll be up to you in trying different ones if this is what you like, to see if it is kept up enough with what High Level has become to be viable. Or if it's a good component, but it may serve some needs as a component, but is not a true overall replacement like High Level tries to be. Speaking of High Level, it's right here. So yes, we all know and we all love Go High Level, but and so this is from actually inside my Go High Level account, and this is a funnel page and what that looks like. So not really contacts, but it has a lot of contact. They're right up here, the contact management features. It's a fully, involved contact management feature or CRM. I will say this for Go High Level: as much software as it replaces and as much as it works on, sometimes it can get really confusing and unruly for people to try to figure out. This goes back to the point I was making: get some help in setting this up. Have somebody do this for you, so all you have to do is walk in and start using it if possible, but be alongside them while they do that. So it's not some big surprise that now they learned and mastered it and know everything about it, and now you have to come in and ramp up your training in a hurry. If you can work alongside them to make it yours, if they will allow, or they should allow, then you will be much better off in doing that. So yeah, high level, we love it. We have accounts, but it can be, particularly for first time users of CRMs, it can be very unruly. It can be very difficult because it's trying to replace so many pieces of software, and it does it at about 70%, 75 for the most part. I know the purists out there are screaming, but it really does. And they may even say that I think they wouldn't dispute it that much, that they're not trying to replace 100% functionality. They can't. But they're trying to get as close as they can, but that ends up a lot of times being 50 to 70% of the functionality, but it's all there. And so that the CRM system is not one of those things. That's really the core of this, is a CRM system, but they have done a lot to add in all these other pieces at varying degrees of functionality, and so it can be very overwhelming for somebody. But nonetheless, it's Go High Level, or high level. And it's a very good choice. It kind of took over off of pipe or high level targeted pipe drive for sure as one of its softwares to replace. But pipe drive is still hanging in there. So you might check out both if you're looking for something along those lines. It's that robust, and see what works for you and see what doesn't. Okay, just a few more here. Let's talk about Zoho. Zoho is another one of those that's kind of been hanging around forever. Boy, some of these ended up in the, I guess they did right. I thought it ended up in the background for a second. But Zoho, as you may know, is kind of an alternative all online office suite. It's an alternative. It's a simpler alternative. It's not as robust as a Google tries to be, a Google Drive, Google Workspace, or even a Microsoft 365. But like Google, this doesn't really have desktop apps. It's all online for the most part. But and they're not this major incredible functionality, with every single one of them. But what Zoho is they have worked hard to be a mid-level office suite. They do a lot of things really well. They don't get deep into the weeds on some of the stuff, but that's not really their model. They offer, CRM is one of the higher end things that they do, but there's others. There's automations. There's the office suite type of things. There's a bunch of other stuff that they offer now, and they have continued to bring that along. They've got project management software. And all these things interlock together into the system that you have. They have some prospecting things that are halfway decent, but it's not rock star stuff, but it's not chintzy either. It's, for the money, it's fantastic services. And so this is a great thing if you're, say, a smaller business and you're wanting to ramp into the idea of either an office suite or a CRM system. This is a great place to start, and see if you like it, and see if you will track it, and see if you will follow it. And work with it, because it has a lot of the things that you need. They even have accounting systems that they work. I mean, just everything they work together that an office would need. It's all integrated, and it goes back and forth, and you get access to a lot of it for very reasonable prices. And so it's very worth your time. A little older style. I think they're in the process of updating it, but for the most part, this is exactly the step. The step up from next to nothing, from Gmail or something, is where this is, but it's not as confusing and unruly as a giant workspace implementation or Microsoft 365 or some of that. It's right there in the middle, and it just works. and it just goes on and on and on. So their CRM system is no exception. It's not as robust as some on this list, but it more than gets the job done. So if that's where you're at and you want to step into the world of CRM and see how it integrates with everything and how it can integrate with everything, then Zoho CRM might be a good place for you. All right, getting near the end here. Salesforce, you know what you love it, the starter. But this is the starter section. As you know, Salesforce can get huge, just like Dynamics 365 and some of the others. But they have always had a sort of, and it's been, from what I understand, I have not used it, although I did try to go to work for them at one point many years ago. But they have always had a little bit of they've always had a starter edition. They've always had a lower grade CRM. I think it was called Lightning at one point, whenever they were first bringing it out. But it was and still is kind of the entry level version of the full Salesforce Impact. And so it's there's probably some things that you will see but can't do. Because they're reserved for the much larger implementations. Obviously, the larger side of what they do, they have really led the way in pioneering running CRMs and online sales. It's just they're one of the leaders there with HubSpot, but they're taking a little bit different tracks, the both of them. But they can scale this up to some very large companies. But they've also kind of left a smaller version in for small businesses, although I think it's on the high side of business implementation opportunities as far as what's out there. But nonetheless, it's Salesforce, and and they do have an entry. They do have a horse in this race for the small and medium-sized businesses. They certainly do for the larger ones. And they're an interesting marketing study at some point too that we can get into. And their convention that I don't think they have it anymore, but they used to have every year this big event, and that's what everybody saved up for. And that was what they found. Most of the reason that people joined Salesforce was so the technology guys could get an invite to this conference, because they would have major A-list rock bands and musicians and comedians, all sorts of stuff that they would have at this conference every year. And that was the big invite that you wanted, this big convention for Salesforce every year to go out to. I don't know if they still have done that or not. I don't know. I think coronavirus kind of ebbed that down, but who knows? It might be going again. But nonetheless, Salesforce has cemented itself as one of the major players, if not the major player, in this online CRM type of space, and sales tracking software and invoicing and that sort of thing. They're up here, and they're huge, and they're here to stay. So, but this is their starter edition to just get you started on that, and they can walk you through if this is the right situation for you, and just be prepared that this is on the larger side, and so it may or may not be the best fit for you depending on what you want. All right, finally, ActiveCampaign. And I do have some some experience in ActiveCampaign. This is one of the older ones as an online CRM, but it's hanging in there. It still manages to innovate. Its big thing is emails in particular. They have a thing for SMS, but it's not very good. So you are better off using, but their email situation is second to none. And how the workflows and the automations that they've come up with to track the contacts. You can also do, this is what I noticed, because we were coming from ActiveCampaign to High Level, and this is where my client had all these notes in there, and this is one thing ActiveCampaign allows you to do. There are lots of notes, and there are easy ways to take it, and so easy customizable ways to take it. So they have little things that keep them in contention, and people still use, and people still innovate with it. And so they're hanging in there. And so you a lot of times find somebody who's in ActiveCampaign who may want to go somewhere else, but their help system they're trying to come along. Their help system is getting better. Their usability is getting a little better, and they're making some updates. They're adding some automations. They're doing some things. So it's this could be maybe a mid step in the CRM It's not as simplistic, say, as Zoho is, or some of the others that are here, but it's not Salesforce either. And so it's a little older legacy property, so it's well established. It's not going anywhere, and it's could be a good opportunity for you. So that's pretty much what we've got here in terms of the different CRMs that are out there. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you found it useful. And sorry for the screen flicker there. But this is our look at some CRM systems that are out there. We will be showcasing more of these on pluginbusiness.com coming very soon. Otherwise, I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any questions, comment where you're watching this, and we will do our best to get them answered. And hopefully somebody who is an expert that has some experience with some of these, because we don't have experience with everything, but we'll try. Hopefully somebody who is an expert will jump in the middle of these and will make it worthwhile. Thank you so much for watching. Share, and subscribe this. Share this with somebody that if you found it useful, and at least a starter point, and we'll go from there. We'll see you next time.